Here we go. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another conversation um, with the Let's Talk Destiny format and A Mother's Cry. I'm welcoming back to my platforms my number one prince. And today we're going to talk about something that has me uh, emotionally stirred up. I have trouble even verbalizing what I'm feeling right now. And that is the arrival of the Harriett Tubman statue, known as the Beacon of Hope statue, into my hometown, Salisbury, Maryland. So, my son and I are going to talk about what this symbolizes, what it means for us as a people, and how it is impacting everybody that has encountered this statue. So first of all, let me say welcome back to the platform.
Thanks for having
Anytime, anytime. So I shared with you earlier that this week on Thursday, I believe it was Thursday, the 9th of November, um, the Cape May Lewis Ferry. I had a very special passenger aboard, and that was a 13-foot tall bronze statue of Harriet Tubman, known as a beacon of hope. Um, the statue is making its rounds in this area: Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, New York area, um, as it conveys the passageway, the way that the enslaved people followed with Harriet Tubman as she was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. And I was trying to explain to you the impact that this is having on me emotionally and spiritually. And you and I are going to talk about that. So, first of all, what did you think? What did you feel? What did you see when I mentioned to you that Harriet Tubman had come to town?
the first thought that I had is uh, the ancestors as they live and breathe through our DNA, our blood, and they are alive in our thoughts. So I literally thought about what that really means and what it stands for. So it's more than just a symbolic celebration. It's really not actually a celebration. What that statue represents is the struggle for liberation. So again, sometimes these things will get lost in a whitewash history or all of these ceremonies, celebrations, and we forget actually what Harriet Tubman stands for. We're talking about a woman that wasn't much more than 5 foot tall, that she was even called general by the Union Army. So once she showed her courage and dedication to fight against the very same systems that they were responsible for upholding, to be quite honest, then they ended up using her to work as a spy against the Confederate Army. So she even played a major part in the so-called Civil War. But again, we're talking about sacrifice. We're talking about dedication. We're talking about never accepting crumbs off of a table but demanding and doing whatever it takes to have freedom. This is what that statue means. So, again, it's overwhelming and mind that we must keep fighting. We're not celebrating anything because the freedom that she literally sacrificed her life for, and to be quite honest, she took life. And she rescued life. The freedom that she had in mind behind those actions, we still have not attained. So for them to bring this statue, the town, and it's going around on the floor, people really need to let the energy of that statue speak to them and embrace what she is, who she is, especially on the floor.
Right.
Because I know many, of the family members that she has or that are recognized, but you got to think about the untold number of family members. Many of us are related to her on the Eastern Shore and don't even know it.
Right, right.
And again, it's that very type of system of separating families, turning humans into no more than livestock feeders. That is what she fought till her last breath for. And so we want to really take on the spirit of Harriet Tubman. And if there should be any celebration should be carrying on the mantle of one of our special ancestors, which she is. So they called her Moses. Again, they called her General. She had many names, but they all showed strength.
Yes.
Being a true queen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was thinking as you were talking, we talk a lot about her being the conductor on the Underground Railroad, but she was so much more than that. I'm just like, sometimes when I think about her, I become overwhelmed with pride. That, like you said, here's a woman barely 5 feet tall who was not just standing up to men in a time when a woman's opinion meant absolutely nothing. The only thing she was meant for or recognized for was breeding babies so that they could have more property on their plantations. But this woman stood up not only against men, but against men of power and became known as a soldier, a scout, a Union spy, military strategist. And it was that military strategy ability that was also woven into her becoming the conductor for the Underground Railroad, because she was not a woman who just sat by and watched things happen and complain about it. But she was thinking of ways to free herself and to free her loved ones and people that were just willing to be free. And there are a lot of Harriet Tubman quotes that are passed on or have been passed on. But one of my favorites is where she is said to have said, "I could have freed many more if they realized that they were slaves." Because there were so many people who just, chose to stay behind for whatever reason. And many of them thinking that they really had it better staying there than they would have if they had gone with her. And that particular quote statement has always comes up in my mind when you try to do something, as you said a few minutes ago, about liberating our people. Even in this day and time, whatever you try to do to free people, to release them from things that have kept them bound, whether it's religion or uh, racism or prison, plantations, or whatever. Um, when you try to help people be free and liberated, and many people choose not to embrace the freedom. And I could only imagine what that would have been like for her, especially in a time when there was a bounty on her head, and she, literally could have probably gotten even further if she was just traveling by herself. But she was determined to try to help her people be free. And as you mentioned, because she was in this particular area, in Dorchester County area, there's probably a whole lot of us here on the Eastern Shore that are down the line related to her and don't even know about it. And that is just phenomenal to me. Um, I was thinking about also, um, years ago, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and my pastor um, came to Salisbury to preach. I had invited him to preach for your Pop-Pop's birthday service. And so when he was picked up from the Baltimore airport and he was being driven here to Salisbury, he told me later on that when they crossed that bridge, I guess they're in Annapolis, he said, I just started feeling this heaviness settling in my spirit. And all the way into Salisbury, he said, it just was such a heaviness. And he said, and I turned to the young man that was driving, and I said, what is the history of this area that I'm feeling such a heaviness about? And he said that's when the young man explained to him about the Underground Railroad and the slaves and so forth and so on. And he said that's what he was feeling in his spirit. And we still know that in this area there's a lot of racism, bigotry, um, undercover lynchings, and so forth and so on going on. But I'm just I think about what you were saying about us embracing not just the statue as a symbol, but to really recognize and embrace the energy and the spirit, and the essence of who this woman was. And I was thinking as I was getting ready to speak with you, I haven't even been downtown yet to see the statue. It's supposed to be unveiled on Wednesday, and I definitely plan to be there for that. But not having even been anywhere near the statue yet where I can lay my hands on it, I feel such a connection. And that is because of what you said about the energy and the essence of who she was. So, what do you, other than us making sure we focus on the power of who this woman was, one of our most notable ancestors, what would you say to our listeners is a major takeaway from this event? I think the statue is scheduled to be here until January. What is it that you would say to us that we need to make sure that we do and feel and experience, other than just being able to say, I saw the statue?
Right. So again, people go, and I definitely encourage as many people as possible go see the statue. Um, Learn to appreciate art. It's the reason why museums make billions of dollars. It's the reason why people go to museums and just stare at the art.
Yes.
what you digest the energy of whatever art form we may view. So again, in going and looking at this amazing woman and remember everything that she stood for. And I repeat, we cannot get lost in these celebrations that water down certain aspects. Because again, what it would end up turning into is some type of celebration for America, as if America has finally recognized the rights of Harriet people.
Right.
And anybody still falling for that line is clearly miseducated and not seeing the reality. So again, don't get whitewashed and watered down. Remember what this woman was and is about, because her ideology is what she was about. And the ideology goes on forever. This is the thought process. These are the feelings. This is the spirit. So get in tune with what her mission was and is. And we have to carry on that torch until the mission is accomplished. And it's like that saying that you just said, that quote, it rings true today more than it did even then.
Yes.
Because, again, the people can look around and say, okay, I'm on a plantation, I'm literally still getting strung up to a whipping post, still in the field, literally picking cotton. So it was easy, DTG, it was easy to wake up and say, well, we're still enslaved. But these days, the illusion is much greater. So people really believe that they are free.
Right,
again,
right.
You're not in control of no food, no resources. You're not even in control of the clothing that we place on our back, the manufacture, production of these things. Not in control, passing those legislation. It really affects you and your family. So when we really think about these things, and who is in control of all of these vital aspects of this, then we realize the same people that were in control of those aspects when Harriet was on her feet. So this means the fight continues.
Yes.
And that saying that she said about I could have freed more, if they would have realized that they were enslaved. So when we look at this statue, remember those words of General Harriett. Could have freed more.
Wow.
If they would have realized they were enslaved.
Yes. That's powerful. That's powerful. And we continue the mission. We still operate in the ideology of liberation. We we don't want to just think just because we can go eat in any restaurant that we choose to nowadays that we're free. We don't want to think that just because we can walk down the street and we don't have to walk on a separate side of the street from people who don't look like us, that means we're free. Because too many of us are still bound and imprisoned and enslaved in our minds. And I appreciate this conversation because we always want to go deeper and more in depth with our conversations, because just dealing with surface celebrations and surface recognizing things on a surface level is not providing any level of liberation for our people. And that's what we're all about. The work that I'm doing for my advocacy work, the work that you're doing, even behind the prison wall. I say this to people all the time. I know for a fact that you are more free than a lot of people that I know that have never been in a prison, in a concrete plantation. And I'm grateful for that. I thank God for that every day, for your liberation and your journey to this point. So I'm going to close out this conversation, and we'll talk maybe a little later, because there's another aspect to the statue coming to town that I want to discuss. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So I'm going to end this recording and save the last few minutes for a conversation. Hold on one second. Of course, if I can figure out what I'm doing.